Okay, I'm going to continue with karma, and today we're going to talk about the what makes action complete. This is really helpful to know, so we can help to, when we're in the midst of doing something that we don't want to be doing, we can make sure we don't do the branches complete. You know, this knowledge is useful. And then when you want to do something constructive to make it, actually, we want to have happiness. What's the cause is virtue, virtuous actions. So we want to know how to create really virtuous actions. So these are the 4 aspects that they describe for what makes a karma complete, and one of them has 3 parts. So the first thing is the object, and then I'll just list them first, and then we'll use the example of killing, but sometime I'll probably do the example of idle talk, because I think that's quite interesting. But today we'll use the example of killing, because that's commonly used. Okay, so there's the object is the first thing, then there's the attitude or the intention is the second, and that has 3 parts. And then there's the action that you do, and then there's the completion of the action. So for the example of killing, the object or the basis has to be a human being a sentient being other than ourselves. So we're talking about complete actions. It doesn't mean if you kill yourself, you're not creating karma, but it wouldn't be a complete karma because of the way that killing is described. So, the attitude has 3 parts. There's discrimination, presence of an affliction, and the motivation. So discrimination means that for something to be complete, we have to properly, in the case of killing, we have to properly identify the subject, the person, the thing, the being. So if we confuse one with another, and you're actually trying to kill Joe, and we kill Sam, then that wouldn't be a complete karma. It doesn't mean you haven't created karma. And if you're just trying to kill anybody, you're that confused, well, you've got your object, so that makes it complete. Okay? Okay, and then there's the presence of an affliction. So there must be an affliction presence because, as with a lot of things, sometimes we're doing things unintentionally. There's no affliction in the mind. We're not like ignorantly thinking that if we kill all these beings, we're going to have some great benefit from it, like some, might happen during, like, say, animal sacrifice. Or we're not having a lot of attachment because we love meat and we're going to go out and get some, go hunting. And we're not killing out of like hatred, maybe, like when we have a lot of vengeance in the mind or something. So, so you have to have some type of affliction present, and usually the afflictions fall into those 3 basic categories of attachment, anger, or ignorance. And then there has to be the motivation. You have to have the motivation to actually do the action. So we definitely have this in our legal system. The motive is important, and is the person, there's a difference even in our legal system of murder and manslaughter. I mean, people get in car accidents all the time. They didn't mean to kill somebody, but somebody dies, so we have that distinction even in our legal system. So here, there has to be the wish present to do this action for it to be a complete karma. So that's the second thing, which is basically under the category of the attitude or the intention. And then there's the action itself, and this is the doing of the action. So in this situation, taking life. In another, for stealing, it would be stealing. For, there's all different kinds of actions that we do. And then the conclusion for killing, for it to be complete, the person or being, the being has to die before you do. So you haven't really, you're not around anymore in that life as that person if you die afterwards. No, or if you die before the other person does. So you wouldn't have a complete act of killing in that case. Of course, all these things don't mean you haven't created karma. It just wouldn't be a complete karma. And why is that important? Because complete karmas have enough power to actually throw another rebirth. That's what they do. So the thing I wanted to been leading to for a while is something that relates to this topic. I think you have to understand what makes a complete karma before you can understand the weight of karma. So not all of our virtuous or wholesome and positive and negative actions have equal weight in terms of what the impact they have on our mind stream, in terms of the latencies that they generate, or in terms of the experience that they're going to bring in the future. So they describe these 5 types of, gotta find the right page, the 5 parts that relate to the weight of a karma. This page turned around. There we go. So there's these 5 things, and I'll just kind of go through them here, and you can use these. I use these sometimes when I set my motivation. I keep sometimes this little cheat sheet on my puja table with my different parts of karma, and I've got my one here for the weight of karma, and I put it on that page. And sometimes when I set my motivation in the morning, because I want to make it strong, I'll go kind of through these points in my mind and try to bring them to the forefront so that I'm setting something, with a lot of force. So the first one is the strength of the intention. So that can make the action very heavy, in a positive or a negative way, but very heavy, very strong. Then there's the second is the method of doing the action. And so this has do you do it repeatedly? Do you do it alone? Do you rejoice afterwards? Do you plan it out for a long, long time with a lot of forethought? And then actually how you're doing the action. For example, say if you were if you did something with a lot of brutality, that would obviously be a heavier thing. Or if you're doing something virtuous and you do it with a deep amount of respect, that would obviously, it's just intuitive that these things would be weightier, heavier, stronger. And then there's the lack of an antidote. And so if you aren't applying any kind of antidote, that makes it weightier. So for instance, there's different ways that this comes about. Sometimes it would be like you actually apply an actual antidote that we learn about in our Dharma talks or in books, or you do constructive actions as another kind of antidote, which kind of makes sense, like maybe you've kind of caused harm in a situation and then you want to kind of make amends, so you do constructive things to try to, that's one way that you're kind of applying an antidote, or purifying, or making, trying to live ethically. So those are things where you've actually taken some initiative on your side to kind of combat the effect of an action. So that makes it, has more import. So the lack of an antidote makes something more weighty for a negative action, is how it's written here. And then if you do the action with distorted views, and this one I find the most interesting in a lot of ways, where you're thinking something negative as positive. And this is what I find actually useful about doing this, because when I would sit here, I did this for quite a while, some years ago, and it was only a couple seconds of thinking in my mind that when I was thinking about something, like maybe I was going to purify, and I'd go, oh, I was thinking that was positive at the time. It only took 3 seconds to realize, but it wasn't, So, it doesn't take us very long sometimes to figure that out. But, when you're doing an action and your views are distorted, thinking a negative is positive, that makes it heavier. And then the object, this is the kind of the weightiness of the object. And so these are kind of intuitive also. Doing things in relationship with your parents, with spiritual mentors, or the triple gem, or the people who are beings who are poor and needy, all those are stronger objects. So, for example, if you're setting your motivation in the morning and you want to make something very powerful, really bring to mind all the, the qualities of the triple gem, and just bringing that into your mind is going to make it stronger. You can, it definitely will. Or if you're doing something negative and you think about it, if you were to do something really horrendous against your parents versus against someone else, it's weightier. Why? Because they're just so important in your life. It's a very strong karmic connection. So those are some points that I think very practical and can help us to, even in the midst of doing things, as we know these things and we think about them, we can try to change our behavior. Sometimes our afflictions are so strong that they're overpowering the mind, but still there's a part of the mind that's usually like a little bit outside of it that you want to become aware of and make that grow and use these things to work against. Like if you find yourself like rejoicing when you've done something that is unwholesome, like, that's really serious business. You need to kind of stop in your tracks and have that little part of your mind that's like outside of the affliction. Try to wake that up a little bit and, use that. Don't rejoice in negative actions. That's the biggest take-home message here. So may we use these to really inform our day. Try to become kinder and gentler people and benefit others.